The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Tuesday, but it's Wednesday show. Because I have to be in Boston tomorrow. We can't do the show.
Take the train.
So for 2.5 hours to get to Boston. I could almost walk there in that
Exactly.
time. So, I mean, look, that was ridiculous. It was on TV. But before we get into the MBTA, which we've got a ton of stuff to talk about, because they are just completely... They're using the shut up, it's not going to cost anything, and don't ask any questions, just check the box. But that's not true. There's thousands of questions we have here because we've continued to research. We got more. But before we do, I have to comment on that video that I saw on when I was at the gym the other day. They showed the video of an assault at a Fall River gas station.
Correct.
A 68 or 60-year, you said 68. I was on the treadmill. I had my earphones in, listening to my music, and I've
heard two different ages, too.
I thought they said 60, but 60, 68, assaulted, and the video showed the guy laying on the ground, basically semi-conscious or unconscious, being kicked by this thug, and then supposedly assaulted the wife of the individual. So, number one, then apparently they said they got him and he said he started it, but I guess obviously they don't know law really well because you can't beat somebody to death because they yelled at you or something, or they put their finger on you. You can only use the force necessary to deter the attack. And not only that, that was a felony assault because he kicked them. That's assault with a shod foot. So that's a deadly weapon.
That's right.
So the whole thing is, this is what gets me. This is what gets me. We got to get into two quick things so we can get the rest.
We're a safe city, though.
Yeah, well, there we go. Can you see all the yuppies that Paul says are all going to come down for market rate housing going, let me see. I can live in Boston, most expensive city. I can live anywhere else in the state. Where am I going to go? Oh, that's right, Fall River. I just saw a nice video of some guy getting beat senseless at a gas station.
That's it.
They're number one in crime. Mm-hmm. Their educational system is failing. I'm going there. And while we're on a subject, Paulie talked about all the out-of-state plates. We found out why.
That's right.
Because they don't really rent. They're in subsidized housing. They're coming from the naval base.
That's right.
And the federal government is paying them rather than putting them up in hotels.
Correct.
Until they find housing for them or they go back to their base.
What happens is they're here for officer training.
Yeah.
Okay? And the officer training school is 1 year in Newport. Yeah. Now, they used to put them up in a hotel in Newport for 30 to 60 days until they could find housing in Newport. But they can't find housing in Newport or Portsmouth right now, so they went to the next best area for housing because they had all this market rate housing, and obviously one of the developers said, hey, wait a minute, I can fill this place up right away and be guaranteed my money. So he went to the naval base and said, I got all these units, do you want them?
Yeah, and okay, so let's put this in a logical perspective, not the Cooganomic spin. Oh, we're filling these places up. They come flying down. These people are temporary.
That's right.
They're temporary people. And the government is paying the tab. So fundamentally, what you disparaged at the last meeting, someone in public housing, this is fundamentally federal housing.
Right.
Because they're not paying for the housing. They're there at the school. And I don't think he was in the military, but I'm going to tell you something. I was in the military, and I found out one thing, the majority of people, and I know a lot of people are in the military, not only in the Army, in the Marine Corps, and in the Air Force, and in all of the branches. And I served with guys who made a career out of the military. And I found that most of the people who I served with either went back to their hometown or they married someone in the general area of where they were stationed. Like we had a few people in the fire department that were not originally from Fall River or even from Massachusetts, who were in the Navy, married someone from Fall River, and ended up on a Fall River fire department. But this stuff, these people aren't going to stay here. And those units may remain, but they don't contribute anything to the community. I hate to tell you this. They're going to the naval base, they're getting their meals at the mess hall. They got a PX and a commissary to go to. They're not going to shop in Fall River. They're doing nothing for the economy. So that spin that Paul tried to put, oh, they're coming here, they're going to spend military money. It's baloney, okay? As usual, it's like he said, oh, yeah, every 30 years people have been crying about getting this here, and that little vignette he had on TV. I can tell you one thing. I know who's been crying to get it down here, the politicians and their friends.
That's right.
I don't know anybody in my circle of friends, but of course I'm not in the lawyer, banker, developer category. I don't know anybody, and I know a lot of people, that gives two craps if we ever got a tea. That's the reality, okay? The people that are screaming about it are people that are going to make money off it. So this is all crap. But again, not a peep from Fall River about that vicious assault on an elderly individual, which, by the way, in addition to being assault and battery with a shot foot, it's also a felony because he's elderly.
Correct. So
you got something like this, and it was on television, the video. You think our illustrious mayor would try to assuage the public and say, look, we're doing something about this? Let's see. Motorcycle gangs, nothing. We don't know anything.
Nope.
The ATVs running amok, nothing. Now an assault of an elderly person at a gas station in broad daylight. I thought when I was looking at that at the gym, I thought I was looking at a video from New York.
Right.
Or LA, where they're having rampant crime in the streets. You know, break-ins but no, then it said at the end of the thing, Fall River.
Yep.
And I went, well, another bonus for us. So I just wanted to get that stuff in before we go to the MBTA. So if you want to weigh in on a few of those things.
Well, I'm going to tell you about the MBTA. Yes, 30 years ago.
MBTA.
Actually, there is a song, if you remember it. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you never be seen. Oh, you never be seen, or something like that.
Yeah, riding on the MBTA.
Riding on the MBTA. Correct.
That's right. It's an old folk song.
Exactly. 30 years ago, people were asking for the MBTA.
Yeah.
But 30 years ago, we had businesses, we had mills, we had people who had money. People wanted to go to Boston, and it was more expensive to drive to Boston or whatever. But times have changed in 30 years. In the 30 years, people have gotten accustomed to driving to Boston. And again, if you're going to spend 2.5 hours or 2 3/4 hours on the train, I'd just as soon spend 2.5 hours in my car listening to my music and doing what I want to do. Because I'm going to tell you now, if I got to do work, driving to work, I better get paid for it. Because it's not going to work for me if I'm not getting paid for it. So, yes, Ms. Fiola, or Representative Fiola, people have been asking for it for over 30 years. But where were you 30 years ago? Where were you when you had the governor's ears? You were on the governor's council. You always had the governor's ear. You've been on the state representative. You've had the governor's ear. Where have you been? Why has it taken 30 years for Fall River to get a train? 30 years ago, it was needed. 30 years ago, people wanted it. Today, people don't care about it.
Yeah, but the developers care a lot because
Yeah,
they're going to take over they're going to take over.
And that's because with the T coming into town, we lose our right to govern ourselves.
Well, everybody that's got the MBTA, I'm glad you got into that subject because this is what they're not telling you. It's shut up, you're paying, you know, it's going to be free, it's not going to be free. And then, you know, I know some people might have misconstrued when I went over that law about you're paying in,
Right.
you have to pay in. We're not paying the MBTA. We're de facto paying them because the state gives them money, and we're part of the state revenue that's given to them.
Correct.
But once we become a part of the authority, we have to pay them
Right.
under a whole bunch of things. And they're saying, no, sir, but I've got an article here that I pulled up. Area officials cry foul over MBTA funding formula. And actually, one of the people that was complaining at the time is a Fall Riverite who worked for the city of Fall River, a guy they tried to bring back for the city administrator's job before they got Seth Akins in there because Adam Chapdelaine.
Yeah.
Remember Adam Chapdelaine?
I remember Adam very well.
Yeah, I do too.
Because he was also an election commissioner for a while.
Exactly, worked in the elections office too. Adam was around, but here's what Adam said. A detailed analysis isn't necessary to point out the formula is not equitable, Arlington town manager Adam Chapdelaine said. But the areas around Boston, and some of them have T stations, by the way. That's the thing I wanted to impress on about that, because they had a city councilor in Watertown who complained about the fact that even though they have bus service like we do, they were still paying, let me get to my little cheat sheet here. Watertown was still paying another $2.2 million to the MBTA.
Right.
And they don't have a T station. Mm-hmm. They don't have a T station. They have a bus authority, and they're still paying $2.2 million. Arlington, where Chapdelaine was the manager, another small rich town like Watertown, was paying $2.9 million in addition, and they have a bus service.
Right.
So when they're telling you, don't worry, CERT is going to pay, forget about it. Because the reality is those communities up there paid $166 million to the MBTA, over and above what they pay to their bus lines.
Right.
So there's something, these questions have to be answered. Where is our city council demanding that the MBTA come down and have a public forum?
Glad you mentioned that, because I spoke with a city councilor over the weekend, and I suggested that they file a resolution requesting that the MBTA comes down to Fall River and explains to us the funding formulas, how much we're going to pay, where we're going to pay it, and to be honest about the fact that the CERTA money that we currently pay is only going to apply as a credit. And here's the kicker. I found out. How accurate it is, I'm not sure. But because CERTA is not only Fall River, but it's also New Bedford, how are they going to divide that money?
Ooh, I got that. I got the answer to that one.
Ah, okay, you got the answer.
It. Well, it may have changed because our great chapter 161A, which is the MBTA chapter,
Right.
in section 20, everybody read section 20 today, because at the end of it, it says that if they're running a deficit, they can do anything they want to their fees and everything
Right.
to increase revenue, because they can't run a deficit. So even what they're going to say we're going to pay, we know. We have video of the director of the MBTA saying they're falling off a cliff next year.
That's right.
And they're going to be billions in the hole. So they're going to tell you, you rubes, you dummies, who they think we're all stupid down here, that we're not going to pay anything. It's not going to cost us a dime. All the rich communities around Boston are paying
all complaining.
millions, and they're all complaining. And the two poor cities down here, they got them conned. Even Mitchell doesn't have a clue. Nobody does any research. It's like if I could put you in a time machine and send you back in time Would you buy a ticket on the Titanic? You probably would. If you're going to buy a ticket to this thing,
Yep.
and then you know they're going into virtual bankruptcy, and they're going to change, they have the right. Remember something. If you read this, everywhere where there's an MBTA station, it's not that city anymore. They are autonomous. They're like the school department. They can do anything they want with zoning, with fees. The state doesn't, they have no jurisdiction. They have their own law. Matter of fact, their retirement system, we found out, is $1.3 billion in the hole. I've been dealing with retirement for years. Of course, I never looked at the MBTA because we know it's a dumping ground for the political hacks. Now I found out what a dumping ground it truly is. Do you know that they had a retirement system where you could retire after 23 years with a full pension at any age? And they wonder why they're in a hole? They changed it now and went to 55. Now, of course, I don't know the MBTA. I know the regular public entities. The only people that got to retire at 55 were people with dangerous jobs like police, fire, corrections, group 4. You know, those are the people in the state police could get, because, let's face it. And I know our legislature just moved the mandatory retirement age to 70.
Yep.
That's to keep their rich chief friends in a job. Because there's nobody dragging hose at a fire or chasing a perp down at 68. You're going to tell me that is a disability pension waiting to happen and a whole bunch of sick time? Because I'm sorry. You can't do those jobs. You can be a supervisor. That's why they put it to 70. Because you know who's going to stay on the job? All the chiefs, the captains, the people who work and don't have to do the work. They're not dragging the hose. They're giving the orders. So these guys got to retire at 55. Then they said they had an age limit. They put the age on it, 55, but they could still retire with 23 years. Then they just went to arbitration and lost because they're moving it to 65. But they're $1.3 billion in the hole. Look, this MBTA is the most poorly run. It's the big dig on steroids because everybody makes sure it always gets funded because everybody's relatives are on there because this is the great dumping ground. But remember, Section 20 gives them the right. And just, you can take this over because I'm going to look up what it says about the MB. Because remember, if you look at 161A, it fundamentally says that the MBTA is an entity unto itself. It is a body politic.
We knew that already.
We know that.
Yes, we knew that already.
So for these people to have the audacity, when we see article after article after article complaining about the MBTA, we see the MBTA admitting that they're falling off a cliff next year, and within 10 years, they're going to be billions, if it keeps going the way it is, in the hole. Then if you look at Section 20, it gives them a carte blanche to raise anything, raise money, raise the fees immediately. Immediately.
Right.
They don't have to come and ask us, oh, by the way, guys in Fall River, do you mind? It's just like the zoning. It's no longer Fall River. No zoning, no permits, no nothing. You rich developers and the people that are working with you, and we know who's working with you, we've got a one-man show down here making millions and just destroying it. And remember who's saying no to this? The Newtons, the Arlingtons. They're going to say, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to let you get around and destroy our city.
As a matter of fact, Newton did that. Newton refuses.
And we got the article.
Yep.
And in
Newton
case you think we're making it
refuses.
up, Newton refused it. But you know why Newton refused it? You know why these cities are complaining? They're rich. Newton can go, hey, stick the state aid that you're going to take away from us for not letting you, completely wreck our city. We're not going to let you come in here and just build anywhere on any little postage stamp lot and build all kinds of multiple families in places we don't want them built. And we can afford it. But guess what? You do that in Fall River, when it comes here and they apply that law, we will be screwed because now it's done. You have put the power in our legislators and Kenny Fiola and the developers who really don't care about Fall River. As you said, we got a developer that's filling up his property with military people.
That's right.
And that's not really filling them up. I want Paul to give me 500 people from Boston who've moved down to Fall River. He'll probably go pay somebody to come down and live here for a month just so he can do it. But, you know, this is crap. Like I said, the majority of this community, 75% or better, are working people, and they live in apartments.
Or they're retirees.
Or they're retirees on fixed income who can't afford these things. And you're going to push them out. You're going to have them lose their houses or be pushed out of their apartments. And you really think that we're going to replace, I don't know, 60,000 people, let's say offhand, you know, a ballpark figure, 60 or 65,000 people in this community, families, are going to be replaced by Boston yuppies who want to come down, gas up their car, and get the crap beat out of them. Yeah, I'm going to go to Fall River. I'm going to go down to the gas station in broad daylight, and it wasn't like some gas station stuck in a corner somewhere. The corner of Milliken and Columbia.
Right.
It's one of the busiest areas in the city.
The cultural district.
But the culture of assault, yes. So, look, this thing, look, the problem is we need a 6-hour show 5 days a week until the vote for us to get all the information we got. Go on the Facebook pages, go on there and educate yourself. These people, ask them. There are questions to be asked, and those questions have to be answered. And our council isn't doing it. We have to ask those questions. And the first question is, why doesn't the MBTA come down here in a public forum and let them ask us? Let us ask them. We have the articles. We're not making this crap up. Channel 5 News, the Boston Herald.
The Boston Globe.
The Boston Globe. We've got articles up the kazoo. We've got laws up the kazoo that say that these people are basically a fiefdom within a city.
So we'll have two fiefdoms in Fall River.
That's right. So look, with that, go ahead, CJ, because I'll tell you what, I'm so frustrated because I did send Carol a second email asking for projected numbers, not just not their phony number now. I want the projected numbers. I still haven't heard, and now I'm going to send, if I don't hear from her shortly, I'm going to send her a third email with all the articles attached and all the videos and say, why can't we get an answer? Why can't we get an answer to these questions? Because you're just saying, trust me. Yeah, I'm telling you, like I said in one of my letters to the city council, in God we trust, to all others we question.
That's it. You have to. And, you know, it's interesting that you mentioned Carol because I sent an email to Alan Sylvia.
Yep.
Alan Sylvia still hasn't responded at all. I'm like, are they so caught up in their non-election election? Because none of them have competition in the primary. Now, I mean, it's not like Alan, Carol, and Paul have people running against them. It's not like Mike has people running against him.
Paul does have a guy running against him, right?
It's a Republican, not in the primary.
Oh, yeah, not in the primary, yeah.
Not in the primary. That's what I said. All of them are uncontested in their primary.
Oh, yeah, but remember, when Paul got he knows he's got somebody in the final election, so he's going to be politicking severely. Yeah. They all are, but it's like...
But, you know, the interesting thing is when your elected officials can't even give you an answer, you know, and even an answer of, I don't know, let me see if I can find it, that's at least an answer. And you have someplace to go. It's an answer.
Yeah, well, they could say, well, I'm going to get to the MBTA, bring them down here, and let them answer the question.
Exactly. And I brought that to a city councilor, as I said, and the city council said, I think I will file that resolution to bring the MBTA down here to have a public forum, to have the questions answered. Now, maybe Paul doesn't want that, and that's why it's not happening. Maybe the mayor doesn't want that to happen, because if all of a sudden the people say no to the MBTA, the money's already been spent. So that train's coming here any way you look at it, because that vote should have been taken beforehand.
Yeah.
Okay? But at least we'll have some control, because we won't be part of the authority.
Yeah, that's the key.
That's the key, all right? Which means if we're not part of the authority, we can't be assessed the same way. And the law won't apply, like giving up control of our zoning. As it is, our zoning board of appeals is corrupt, it appears, because they turn around and everybody who files to build 12 apartments, 16 apartments, 32 apartments, 364 apartments, they file for a waiver on parking. That's not a zoning issue, that's a city ordinance. And every time you pass that, you destroy a neighborhood. You destroy a neighborhood. And this law, which is going to allow people to build without constraint, is going to destroy the city. It's going to destroy the neighborhood.
No, you're right, CJ, and I'm going to read you the Section 2 of 161A, the Massachusetts Bay Authority. It's just the first, basically the first sentence, which says it all. This is the title: Creation of Authority Powers, Liability for Debts and Obligations, Service of Process. The area constituting the authority and the inhabitants, by the way, that's you guys, that's us, we're the inhabitants of this area, thereof are hereby made a body politic and corporate and a political subdivision of the Commonwealth under the name of the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority. You are now part of the MBTA. Fall River doesn't have any jurisdiction. You are now the inhabitants. You have to abide by their rules. Read those rules. They're scary as hell. There's all kinds of funds and all kinds of revenue things in there.
Are you ready
and
for
these
this one?
people are telling us it's not going to cost us anything. You should be outraged.
Are you ready for this one? They're so strong in their authority, they have their own police force.
Yeah.
They have their own police force. So does that mean that the Fall River police, if there's a crime on the T platform, the Fall River police can't answer?
Well,
Maybe.
They won't send any of their police down here. It's too dangerous.
But, you know, this is the thing that we have to look at.
Yeah.
We're going to lose our identity. We'll just be another city or town along the MBTA. And you know what they say in the song?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll never be heard,
Yeah.
oh, you'll never be heard.
Yeah, that's it. And but I'll tell you, that's the scary part. They should change inhabitants to ATM machines, because
Right.
that's all we're going to be. Once we get this authority, we're going to be and we're getting it at its worst. 30 years ago, it might have been worthwhile.
The law was different.
But now the laws have all
right.
been changed. The place has been mismanaged for 30 years. The place is going down. We're buying tickets to the Titanic, and that's what they're doing to us. And they're lying their butts off, and they just keep saying the mantra. It's not going to cost us a penny. Well, prove it. Have somebody come down from the MBTA and say, no, we're not going to do what we did to Arlington, Watertown, Boston, Newton, all these places. Well, we're going to exempt Fall River and New Bedford. Yeah, sure they are.
Yeah, well, I mean, why is everything held in Middleborough and Lakeville? That's where the train comes in and then splits off. And the other big question is, and you know, we have very little time actually. This is a diesel engine. What happens when the state goes total green?
We pay more.
We're going to pay more because we have to put in an electric engine. So, hey, I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday. Have a great day.